Live from Michigan Avenue, this is Good Day Chicago.
Now on Good Day Chicago, Orland Park's Village Board approves plans for an Amazon store, but some residents are still hesitant on this new development.
They were able to pull it off. A big night for the Hoosiers. The University of Indiana wins its first ever football national championship.
And we're on to another frigid start this morning. Mike says, though, some areas are under a winter weather advisory. Good morning and welcome to the 5 a.m. hour of Good Day Chicago. I'm Brian Jackson.
And I'm Gabriela Primus. We also have Mike Kaplan here with some weather. But Mike, I assume that we're going to see a lot of red maybe in our newsroom later on today because people were encouraging our fellow Hoosiers here in the newsroom.
They got it done.
Sure. Is he coming in? Is Anthony going to be here today?
I think so. I mean,
okay.
As we know.
If he's not wearing some red, we're going to call him out.
Right.
That is for sure. I feel sorry for Mrs. C. She's going to have to do some snow removal, I think, tomorrow morning. Poor woman.
She's a good woman.
She's a good woman,
She's the best.
but I feel bad. Yeah, we do have a winter weather advisory. Snow on the way. I think all of us will see some. Lake and McHenry County, that's where the heaviest snow is going to be coming down. Today, it's going to be quite cold, but not as cold as it was all day yesterday. We'll get to 20 plus during the afternoon, even as some clouds roll in. But you're going to see a lot of morning sunshine, but don't let that fool you. It is still cold. 3 at O'Hare with a wind chill of 10 below 0. We have a west-southwest wind not as strong as it was yesterday. Here are the other area temperatures. Woodstock, you got the worst of it, 2 below 0. 7 above at Joliet. 4 at Midway and the Lakefronts. 3 at Gary and Merrillville. Today headed for highs in the 20s. And we may be close to 30 tomorrow for the warmest day of the week. I'll show you the colder temperatures in just a little bit. But right now, let's see what kind of delays, if any, there are on the roads. Gabriella?
Mike, I feel a lot better this morning than I did yesterday morning just because of kind of that messy commute that we had. Looking a lot better than 24 hours ago. Let's talk about just some overnight road work that's still slowing some people down. Should be wrapping up here at 5 o'clock. One is southbound on the Edens between Elston and the Kennedy. And then outbound also on the Eisenhower. We have some road construction, too, that's blocking 2 left lanes between, I think it was LaGrange Road and Wolf Road. And then finally, we just have a disabled vehicle. It's blocking a lane or an entrance ramp, excuse me, on the Stevenson northbound at Damon Avenue. It looks like it's only letting people kind of get by on the shoulder. They might have completely shut that down as they just get that car on the tow truck. So really nothing to worry about. I'll keep you updated on this and some drive times coming up.
Well, so far we don't have snow this morning, but those temperatures outside are still dangerously cold.
Roseanne is braving the cold for us and is live with the latest. Good morning, Roseanne.
You know, I've heard it described as so cold it hurts to breathe. And from flat tires to broken furnaces, all this cold is beginning to take its toll. You know it when you see it. Steam rising on the water and from the building tops despite that sun beaming down. A sure sign that it's bitterly cold out. The snow on the ground frozen in place. All reminders that it's a good day to avoid the outdoors if you can, or bundle up if you absolutely must head out. The frigid temperatures have some turning up the heat, but furnace experts say try to resist the urge to crank it too high or you could end up blowing cold air. Under the Sun Heating and Cooling says 9 times out of 10 when that happens, it's the flame sensor.
If it's been overly ran, for a quick example, what I've noticed as well is that clients are running their furnaces up to 75, 76 on their thermostat. Now, what happens is that rod there detects the flame, and when it gets to become overheated, it shuts off as a safety mechanism.
Yeah, this is the time of year when you also notice if the stripping isn't working well on your windows, but difficult to get these jobs done when it's so cold and demand is so high. And Reyes says that demand is off the chart. Usually that furnace sensor that he was talking about is a $200 to $300 job, but if you need a whole new furnace, that can run you up to $4,000. So glad to hear that Mike said the temperatures are going to warm up a bit. Back to you guys.
Okay, so not only are you cold, you're also broke. By the end of winter. Thank you, Roseanne. We'll catch up with you again later on in the show.
All right, time is now 5:04 this morning. A search is now underway in Indiana after a Superior Court judge and his wife were shot inside of their home. Judge Steve Meyer and his wife were shot in their home in Lafayette on Sunday. Police said that the pair received medical treatment and are expected to be okay. Authorities said that they weren't aware of any threats against the judge or any others at the courthouse, but that there will be increased security going forward. The FBI and multiple state agencies are currently investigating.
The Department of Justice is responding to a lawsuit filed by the state of Minnesota and the Twin Cities, calling it frivolous. The DOJ is asking the court to deny the state's request for a preliminary injunction, which would block ICE from operating in the Twin Cities until the lawsuit is resolved. Minnesota, Minneapolis, and St. Paul argue the ICE operation is unconstitutional and unlawful. This as nearly 60 organizations took to our city streets to protest on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. They're calling for ICE to be abolished. The protest began at Water Tower Park and ended at Trump Tower. Protesters say they were out in the freezing cold because the issues they stand for are life and death for many people.
We've got people who are wrongfully imprisoned. We've got the Constitution being shredded by this president, and a totally weak response from the so-called opposition in the Democratic Party. And so we've got to fight for civil rights the way they've always been fought. Being out in the streets, taking risks sometimes.
The groups are also calling for an end to the wars, genocide, and to tax the rich.
World tensions are rising over President Trump's push to control Greenland. In a message to Norway's prime minister, President Trump blamed the country for not giving him the Nobel Peace Prize and said he, quote, no longer feels bound to think only about peace. The president is threatening new tariffs on several European countries that back Greenland and its ruling country, Denmark. He also has now ruled out using force. European leaders say that the country is not for sale and are instead urging calmer talks.
It feels now like American foreign policy, at least towards Greenland, is being driven by Donald Trump's ego, not by our national interest.
We are not going to outsource our hemispheric security to anyone else.
Denmark and other NATO members have been sending more troops to Greenland for training and security. The Orland Park Village Board approves a new proposed Amazon development. Amazon wants to build a large retail store near 159th Street and LaGrange Road on land that is currently vacant. The company says that this would be your traditional shopping experience with groceries, general merchandise, and not a distribution center. Some residents, though, raise concerns about traffic in that area.
It's already one of the busiest intersections in the village. Traffic congestion is bad today, and everybody knows it'll only get worse. The village has effectively admitted this by focusing on traffic mitigation rather than reduction, an acknowledgement that congestion is unavoidable.
Village officials say that this development could bring hundreds of jobs and add to Orland Park's reputation.
All right, the Bears are officially moving on to the offseason, and it looks like they're having fun. I saw a picture overnight, Caleb Williams, Pete Crow Armstrong. They were kicking it at the Blackhawks game, I think.
Hanging out with all our future stars.
I like it.
I think we've got a bright future here in Chicago
Winnipeg,
in terms of sports. Yeah.
Well, it's nice that you got, football and baseball coming together to watch a hockey game. And they brought the Blackhawks some good luck last night. More on that game a little bit. But let's talk about the Bears. They cleaned out their lockers yesterday. That has to be kind of a sad moment. And they took some time to reflect on the season. Many of the players say the foundation is now set in Chicago. They believe it's going to carry over for years to come. And they gave a lot of the credit for that to Ben Johnson.
Catalyst for us, to be able to lead us, to be able to stand strong in tough moments and good moments, to be able to show emotion, be able to be who he is and be consistent with that and do what he said he was going to do. He's been everything that Chicago's needed as a coach.
Head coach Ben Johnson and general manager Ryan Poles, they are both expected to talk with the media, that would be us, later this week. It looks like the Bears, though, are already losing one of their coaches. Running backs coach Eric Bieniemy, he's headed back to Kansas City. He's returning to the role of offensive coordinator, a role he played there for 4 years, starting back in 2018. Bieniemy will replace who? Matt Nagy, former Bears head coach, who is not expected to return after his contract expired. The Indiana Hoosiers, they did it. There was the game-sealing interception. I watched that one. They are now national champions in football, beating Miami. This was a close one, 27-21 in the national title game last night. Claimed the program's first ever national championship on the gridiron. The Hoosiers finished the year 16-0, making them the first major college football team to do that since, and if you knew this fact, give yourself a pat on the back, Yale, the Elis, back in 1894. Now, entering this season, the Hoosiers, the Hoosiers had lost more games than any other FBS program. What a turnaround. All right, we talked about the Blackhawks. A special return to the United Center for one player, Jonathan Toews. He was in town with the Winnipeg Jets, and he got a roaring ovation after they played a number 19 highlight reel. Yeah, you got to give him his props. A 3.5-minute ovation for him. Well, as for the game itself, Jason Dickinson gets the Hawks on the board right there in the second period with his 6th goal of the season. And the Jets can't do anything. They get shut out. Hawks go on to win 2-0. There you go, PCA and Caleb in the stand. All right, another coaching position now open in the NFL. The Buffalo Bills have fired Sean McDermott after his team lost to Denver in overtime Saturday. McDermott turned the Bills really into an AFC powerhouse, but he could not get them to a Super Bowl. Meanwhile, the Dolphins have hired Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley for their head coaching job. 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh is reportedly set to become the head coach of the Titans. And there are still some positions to be filled. All right, let's talk about the weather. Getting the kids to the bus stop, please bundle them up big time. Even though it won't be as cold today as it was yesterday, this is still really cold, even by January standards. 1 degree on average across the area at 7 o'clock. Still quite cold at lunchtime, 16 degrees. The ride home, a little more palatable with a temperature of 21 degrees. The kids are also going to be seeing a little bit more in the way of cloud cover by then after what had been a perfectly sunny morning. 0 at Waukegan, 1 at Aurora, Chicago Heights, and Valparaiso. At Midway in the Chicago lakefront, it is 4 degrees. And, of course, we have to factor in a little bit of wind chill. Feels like 10 below at O'Hare, 15 below at Woodstock, 8 below at LaSalle, Peru. And Michigan City, 10 below, Valparaiso, even colder. Feels like 15 below 0. We've gone from kind of focusing on the extreme cold now to talking about snow on the way. And a winter weather advisory will be in effect from 8 p.m. tonight until 6 a.m. tomorrow. This includes Lake McHenry, Boone, Winnebago, and Points West, all the northern Illinois counties, and all of southern Wisconsin. It's kind of a narrow stripe where it looks like anywhere from 2 to 5 inches of snow will come down. Even if you're in an area not in a winter weather advisory, please do not think, if you're watching me right now in Tinley Park, if you're watching me in Crown Point, don't think, oh, we're getting nothing. You'll have some snow. It just won't be as much as where I am up there near the Canadian border, so to speak. All right, let's see the timing here. When does the snow move in? Well after dark. By midnight, snowing pretty much area-wide, but exiting by daybreak tomorrow. But that's not the last snow of the day. I'll explain coming up.
Thank you, Mike.
The Supreme Court could issue a major opinion today on President Trump's tariffs.
We're talking with Fox News political analyst Doug Luzader about the possible impact when we come back.
I'm John Morgan.
The Supreme Court could be just hours away now from releasing a bombshell opinion on President Trump's tariff authority.
It comes as the president is threatening even more tariffs on a number of European allies over his plans to take over Greenland. Our Doug Luzader joins us live in Washington this morning. So, Doug, if the Supreme Court decides to rule against President Trump, what would that mean for his economic agenda?
Well, we don't know if this decision is coming down today, but it's due out relatively soon. We know there are opinions being released this morning at around 10 a.m. Eastern time. So there's a lot of anticipation for this. And based on oral arguments, it sounded like the court was somewhat skeptical of the president's use of emergency authority to impose tariffs. Now, the court could completely rule against the president on this, which would mean that not only would he not be able to put the tariffs in place as he's done, but the U.S. could potentially have to refund more than $100 billion in tariff revenue that we've taken in. That would be significant. Or the court could completely back the president, or they could come up with something in the middle here. We obviously don't know exactly what the court is going to do, but we do know that the president likes this tariff authority, and he's been using it to try to persuade European allies to work out some kind of a deal where the U.S. would take Greenland, and that remains very much a work in progress. The president is undeterred by a lot of the criticism here. He's going to Davos later today for the World Economic Forum, and this is a subject that is no doubt going to come up during his visit there.
Doug, there's been a lot of chatter online, it seems. Is President Trump now linking his push to acquire Greenland to not getting the Nobel Peace Prize?
Well, I think you're referencing, I think this text exchange that happened with the Prime Minister of Norway regarding the Nobel and the fact that it was not awarded to the Peace Prize was not awarded to the president. The president, I think, commented on this last night, saying that that's not his big driver, but he clearly, has interest in winning the Nobel Peace Prize. It obviously didn't happen this year, and it's an important thing to him. There's no doubt.
All right. That is our Doug Luzader reporting live from Washington this morning. We'll also be looking for Washington later this morning to see if we get some updates from the Supreme Court.
All right, thank you, Doug. All right, Mike Kaplan, you're here joining us, and we can expect some snow in our area. Great. On top of the cold.
I know, just what we need.
Right.
Cold and snowy.
Yeah, even as we emerge from the worst of the deep freeze. So here's yesterday extreme cold. Now we're going to go to some snow, and then we have more extreme cold on the way. January, which started out so pleasantly, is not finishing up quite as we may have hoped. I know some of you don't mind a little bit of snow, and that's coming in. Out there right now, skies are mainly clear, and the sun put out a big plasma wave. It hit the Earth yesterday and triggered the northern lights across a big part of the globe. A few folks have seen them in the Midwest, but in spite of that, most of the action has been to the north, and it's a shame because skies are clear right now, so it's been a great opportunity to maybe see them. Well, there is cloud cover on the way later today, and there is snow on the way tonight. Thanks to this. It's an Alberta-style clipper system, which has just enough moisture to work with to squeeze out maybe a few inches of snow. I think most of this is going to happen in the counties that border the Cheddar Curtain, both north and south. I think that's where, some 3s and 4s are likely, and a few spots may get up to 5 inches of snow. Quick hit, gone by tomorrow morning, but that's not it. Here comes another little feature that is going to spark some snow showers tomorrow evening. That might even impact the afternoon commute. We'll see. I think most of that happens kind of after the bulk of the driving is done, shall we say. That's another quick hitter. And then I have no more snow in the forecast, but I have plenty of Arctic air with the worst of it hitting on Friday. Today, 22 degrees. We'll get there eventually. Lots of sun early, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon. It's still cold. Normal high this time of year is about 31. Tonight, dropping to 18, and then temperatures rise even as the snow falls. I think we'll see a lot of 2s and 3s across the area with some 4+ in Lake and McHenry County. Less snow the farther south you are. Another chance for snow showers tomorrow evening, and then the focus on those temperatures again. 0 for the high on Friday. Probably not even getting to 10 degrees on Saturday. A real cold weekend on the way. Yesterday had a really nasty commute, despite the fact there wasn't that much snowfall. falling. How are we doing this morning, Gail?
No kidding, Mike. And we're lucky that we had, little traffic volume yesterday because of the holiday. Today we're looking a lot better, although we have one new crash that's over in Lombard. It's North Avenue at 355, so it's not actually on the tollway, but it's just near kind of where they intersect. So be aware of that. Crews are responding. You're going to see some flashing lights in that area. Other than that, all of our road work has been cleared, including the express lanes that were closed overnight due to some maintenance. They reopened right around 5:05.
Well, President Trump is targeting states that use taxpayer money to cover health care for illegal immigrants.
And a snow squall leads to a big mess on a Michigan highway. It's the kind of video where you stop and you have to look at it.
Stop in your tracks.
Right after this.
Fox Local, your smart TV.
Welcome back. Time is now 5:24 on your Tuesday morning. Please make sure to bundle up. A lot of you are heading back to the office this morning after having off for Monday for MLK Day. We're dealing with temperatures in the single digits out there. An investigation into a deadly train collision in Spain continues. At least 40 people are dead and more than 150 were injured. A train heading to Madrid jumped the track and slammed into another train, sending that second train down a hill. Some people were found hundreds of feet away from the crash site.
I understand the desperation of the families, and with the number of people who remain injured as a result of this accident, we are all truly concerned. The accident is extremely strange. It happened on a straight stretch of track. All the railway experts are extremely surprised.
Last August, the Spanish Train Drivers Union said it warned the rail operator of severe wear and tear on the tracks. Spanish officials said that the rescue efforts are still ongoing.
President Trump is targeting states that use taxpayer money to cover health care for illegal immigrants. The administration says 7 states and D.C. owe nearly $1.4 billion in federal funds spent on non-emergency care. Officials say federal money is only meant for emergency care, not routine treatments like dental cleanings or elective surgeries. Illinois is third behind California and New York for the amount of money owed to the federal government over care for illegal immigrants. That's according to Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services.
When you come for elective hernia operations or dental cleaning, that's not going to be paid for by the federal taxpayer. It's not right. You don't want folks in one state paying for people in another state without them knowing about it and voting for it.
Critics say cutting care is cruel, while supporters argue Americans shouldn't pay for health care for undocumented immigrants.
Well, nurses in New York City have entered their second week of protests. The New York Nurses Association says that they have targeted meetings with one of the major hospital systems, Mount Sinai. However, both sides have said that the meeting ended with little progress. This is the city's biggest strike of its kind in decades.
This is that video that we suggested that you definitely look at the TV for. Multiple people were injured in a 100-vehicle pileup in Michigan. This isn't far away, guys. It happened yesterday morning during a sudden snow squall southwest of Grand Rapids. It was on I-196. Michigan State Police say as many as 40 semi-trucks were also involved. Some cars were able to avoid the pileup by going off the road and getting stuck in the snow. So you see, they're kind of just spread out all over the place. But then, guys, you also have to, remember, if it's deep snow, then your exhaust could get covered up. If you are stuck on the shoulder.
Jeez.
That's why keeping a shovel, you can't keep everything in your car, but, keeping a shovel sometimes is smart, too, especially if you're driving some of these rural-ish roads.
Yeah, well, 196, as you point out, though, that's kind of a major road, through there. But it just, to see 100-plus cars, trucks, luckily nobody killed, right?
Yeah,
so far, yeah, thankfully.
Did anybody feel the earth move under their feet this morning?
No.
Well,
I saw your note.
we had an earthquake in Illinois. Let's take a look at the map here. This happened around 1:30 this morning. It was a 3.5 on the earthquake intensity scale, and it was centered here in southern Christian County. I've already tapped into Natalie to see if her folks in Springfield may have felt it. I have seen a lot of folks felt it in the St. Louis area, but this is south of Springfield in Christian County, south of Taylorville. Not any damage definitely caused by that, but just a little oddity there. An earthquake in central Illinois. Let's talk about our temperatures. They are cold, single digits for the most part. It is 3 at Gary and O'Hare, 0 at Waukegan, 1 below at Woodstock, LaSalle, Peru, with a 3 today. In the afternoon, not as cold as it was yesterday, and we'll see quite a bit of sunshine. High of 22 degrees. A little bit of cloud cover coming in the afternoon. But tonight, that's when things get a little bit dicey, especially after about 8 o'clock. That is when snow will be moving in from the west. I think it's going to snow anywhere in Chicagoland, but to me, there's no question. The heaviest snow is going to be in Lake and McHenry County and in southern Wisconsin. I think a lot of 3s and 4s will be common in that area. I think in the city, maybe 1 to 2 inches of snow. The farther south you are, the less snow comes down. Then all of us will be sharing in the misery of some really frigid air again, with the worst of it hitting Friday with a high of 0 and a low Friday night into Saturday morning of 8 degrees below 0. Get ready. I'm sure we're going to get a cold weather advisory for wind chills then again. Back to you both.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, time is now 5:29 this morning. Stick around. We got more news, weather, and traffic on the way.
Now, Good Day Chicago, Orland Park's Village Board approves plans for an Amazon store, but some residents are still hesitant on the development.
The U.S. Supreme Court could release a major opinion on President Trump's tariff authority.
A big night for the Hoosiers. The University of Indiana wins its first ever football national championship. Mike.
All right, we have a cold morning out there, but even colder air than what we've just experienced is in my forecast, and some sticking snow before that. I'll lay it all out for you here in a little bit, but right now, let's see if the news is still good on the roads, Gabriella.
You know, Mike, for the most part, but I do have a new crash to report. I should mention that one in Lombard I mentioned, North Avenue at 355 at the tollway. That crash has been cleared. The crews got on it right away. Again, it wasn't on the tollway. It was off the tollway there in Lombard. But there's a new crash outbound on the Eisenhower at Central. Multiple vehicles involved, and it's in the left lane. Crews also responding to this. So you're going to start tapping the brakes over near Costner all the way to around Central. Keep you updated on this and some drive times here in the 6 o'clock hour.
Well, those dangerous cold temperatures are sticking around for quite some time, and we've even got another round of snow on the way.
Roseanne, our expert in the field, she's braving the cold for us and has more. Good morning, Roseanne.
Yes, well, thank goodness this is small doses. I mean, think about the people who are working out for extended times. Be sure and say something kind to them today because it's cold out here. Well, if you managed to avoid going out yesterday, and a lot of people did because of the holiday, you are in for a reminder of what these brutal temperatures feel like when you head out today. And so take a look. Steam rising on the water and from the building tops in the city. Despite the beaming sun yesterday, that was a sure sign of the bitter cold. The snow on the ground frozen in place and more on the way, as Mike Kaplan said. These are all reminders that it's good to avoid the outdoors altogether if you can. Even with frigid temperatures, experts say also resist the urge to crank the heat too high, or that could end up blowing cold air and your furnace could go out. So if you are heading out, you're advised to wear layers of loose, warm clothing, even if you think you'll only be out briefly.
You may feel fine out there for a couple minutes, but anything could happen as far as slipping on the ice, falling down. Now you're outside for an extended period of time. So really just keeping those things in mind. Also, not only just the short exposure, but what can happen when you're walking outside with the extreme temperatures, the ice, the snow, all of those things. If your dog runs away, now you're frantically trying to find them. So it's super important to be prepared, whether you're going to be outside for 5 minutes or an extended period of time.
Right. Some other good reminders: make sure your tires are looking good, that you have a full gas tank, and that emergency kit in the car, just in case. Back to you guys in the studio.
Yeah, such good advice, Roseanne, especially with those tires. It's going to be a surprise to you once you get out of your warm garage there. We'll catch up with you again.
A search is now underway in Indiana after a Superior Court judge and his wife were shot inside of their home. Judge Steve Meyer and his wife were both shot in their home in Lafayette on Sunday. Police said that the pair received medical treatment and are expected to be okay. Authorities say that they're not aware of any threats against the judge or anybody else at the courthouse, but that there will be increased security going forward. The FBI and multiple state agencies are currently investigating.
The Department of Justice is responding to a lawsuit filed by the state of Minnesota and the Twin Cities, calling it frivolous. The DOJ is asking the court to deny the state's request for a preliminary injunction, which would block ICE from operating in the Twin Cities until the lawsuit is resolved. Minnesota, Minneapolis, and St. Paul argue the ICE operation is unconstitutional and unlawful. This as nearly 60 organizations took to our city streets to protest on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. They're calling for ICE to be abolished. The protest began at the Water Tower Park and ended at Trump Tower. Protesters say they were out in the freezing cold because the issues they stand for are life and death for many people.
We've got people who are wrongfully imprisoned. We've got the Constitution being shredded by this president, and a totally weak response from the so-called opposition in the Democratic Party. And so we've got to fight for civil rights the way they've always been fought. Being out in the streets, taking risks sometimes.
The groups are also calling for an end to the wars, genocide, and to tax the rich.
The Supreme Court could rule on President Trump's sweeping global import fees today. Those tariffs are being challenged by some small businesses in several states because, according to the Constitution, the power to implement tariffs is held by Congress. President Trump put them in place by declaring a national emergency. If the justices find that the tariffs are illegal, the U.S. could be forced to refund more than $133 billion. Tensions are also rising over President Trump's push to control Greenland. In a message to Norway's prime minister, the president blamed the country for not giving him the Nobel Peace Prize and said he, quote, no longer feels bound to think only about peace. The president is threatening new tariffs on several European countries that currently back Greenland and his ruling country, Denmark. He also has not ruled out using force. European leaders say that the country is not for sale and are now urging calmer talks.
It feels now like American foreign policy, at least towards Greenland, is being driven by Donald Trump's ego, not by our national interest.
We are not going to outsource our hemispheric security to anyone else.
Denmark and other NATO members have been sending more troops to Greenland for training and security.
3 of the most influential Catholic leaders in the country, including Chicago Archbishop Blase Cupich, are criticizing the Trump administration over recent foreign policy moves in Venezuela, Ukraine, and Greenland. Cardinal Cupich said, quote, as pastors entrusted with the teaching of our people, we cannot stand by while decisions are made that condemn millions to lives trapped permanently at the edge of existence. The White House has not issued a response.
The Orland Park Village Board approves a new proposed Amazon development. Amazon wants to build a large retail store near 159th Street and LaGrange Road on land that is currently vacant. The company says that this would be a traditional shopping experience with groceries and general merchandise, not a distribution center. Some residents, though, are concerned about heavy traffic in the area.
It's already one of the busiest intersections in the village. Traffic congestion is bad today, and everybody knows it'll only get worse. The village has effectively admitted this by focusing on traffic mitigation rather than reduction, an acknowledgement that congestion is unavoidable.
Village officials say that this development could bring hundreds of jobs and add to Orland Park's reputation.
5:38. All right, you two. I did not take my own advice yesterday.
What was that?
I had these cute little, closed-toed heels, and I was out going to some live segments, and I went from the vehicle to the actual location, and my feet felt like they were going to fall off with how cold it was.
It's not surprising.
Well,
it doesn't take very long.
A burning.
Do you have your boots on today?
Yes.
Okay. See?
Lesson learned.
You learned your lesson.
And hopefully everybody at home will heed by your lesson as well.
I'll save you the pain.
Well, here's the deal. Put those open-toed shoes away for a while because we have more cold on the way. Even as temperatures won't be quite as bitter today, and tomorrow we'll have a few hours where it's almost 30. The characteristic of this entire forecast, it's got a lot of cold in it, including now 3. With clear skies at O'Hare, west-southwest winds at 8, so the wind chill, it could be worse. Feels like 10 below, though, at the big airport. This is the temperature layout. 0, Chicago Heights and Waukegan. 7 at Joliet. 2 in Merrillville. And in Michigan City, it is 5 degrees. These are the current wind gusts, mainly out of the southwest, 5 to 10 miles per hour. It's not super blustery. Benton Harbor, a little bit windier there with a 31-mile-an-hour gust. But here are the wind chills, and there are still a lot of spots that are 10 below 0 or worse, including Waukegan, Woodstock, DeKalb, Aurora, even at O'Hare. There's that 10 below 0 wind chill. Winter weather advisory. This is for an impactful snow coming in here tonight, overnight, and ending tomorrow morning. Lake McHenry County, all of southern Wisconsin counties. And just you look at the map, and if you're watching right now, if you're in Joliet, if you're in Manhattan, if you're in Aurora, Naperville, even the city of Chicago, saying, oh, we're not getting anything. It's just a winter weather advisory, Lake and McHenry County. No, that's where the snow will be heaviest. There's going to be a sticking and probably shovelable snow over most of Chicagoland. You get far enough south, probably not going to see that much, maybe an inch tops as you get south of I-80. During the day, no precipitation. We're dry. A lot of sunshine, in fact. Just don't let that fool you. It is staying cold. Here comes the snow. It's going to arrive here about 8, 9 o'clock, and it'll snow at varying intensities most of the night, and then get on out of here by about 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. And you'll be doing a little snow removal project, I'm sure, tomorrow morning, with more snow coming in tomorrow night. I'll show you that one in just a little bit. We're going to take a quick break and be back after this.
5 days.
Democrats in Congress say that they're trying to stop ICE from using what they're calling heavy-handed tactics. Their plan is to cut the agency's money. Some lawmakers now insist on new guardrails in an upcoming DHS funding bill before they cast their votes.
Cannot vote for anything that actually adds more money and doesn't constrain ICE.
I am not going to cast a vote, not one dime, to support this lawless, brutal Trump ICE operation.
Congress has until the end of the month to fund DHS and other federal agencies to avoid another federal government shutdown.
Fed Chair Jerome Powell will attend Wednesday's Supreme Court argument over the president's attempt to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. Trump claims Cook committed mortgage fraud, which she denies. Powell's attendance comes after months of mounting tensions between the White House and the central bank, with the president threatening the Fed with subpoenas to force rate cuts. Powell's term as Fed chair is up in May.
Nurses in New York City have entered their second week of protests. The New York Nurses Association says that they've started meetings with another one of the major hospital systems, Mount Sinai. However, both sides said that the meeting ended with little progress that was made. This is the city's biggest strike of any kind in decades. Take a look at this new video out of California where a car slams into a church, injuring 7 people, including a baby. This happened in San Francisco. Fire crews said that the 7 people injured, 3 of them were taken to the hospital. According to the church's pastor, a 1.5-year-old baby was trapped under the car, but was rescued and thankfully is now doing okay.
Wow. And we're showing you this shocking video again. Multiple people were injured in a 100-vehicle pileup in Michigan. It happened yesterday morning during sudden snow squall southwest of Grand Rapids. This was on I-196. Michigan State Police say as many as 40 semi-trucks were also involved. Now, some cars were able to avoid the pileup by going off the road and getting stuck in the snow over in the shoulder area. I know school buses also came to rescue some people who were stuck in the snow there.
Definitely a scary sight, and you got to be careful when we got conditions outside like today and yesterday. All right, stick around. We got more news and weather still to come this Tuesday morning on Good Day.
Fox 32 News is brought to you.
Now in Good Day Chicago, the Orland Park Village Board approves a proposed Amazon development. Amazon wants to build a large retail store near 159th Street and LaGrange Road on land that's currently vacant. Some residents, though, are concerned about things like traffic.
The Supreme Court could rule on President Trump's sweeping global import fees today. Those tariffs are being challenged by some small businesses and several states. If the justices find that the tariffs are illegal, U.S. could be forced to refund more than $133 billion.
Man, oh man, the Indiana Hoosiers pulled off the unimaginable and are national champions in college football. They beat Miami 27-21 in the national title game last night, claiming the program's first ever national championship.
An investigation into a deadly train collision in Spain continues. At least 40 people are dead and more than 150 injured. A train heading to Madrid jumped the track and slammed into another train, sending that second train down a hill. Some people were found hundreds of feet away from the crash site.
I understand the desperation of the families, and with the number of people who remain injured as a result of this accident, we are all truly concerned. The accident is extremely strange. It happened on a straight stretch of track. All the railway experts are extremely surprised.
Last August, the Spanish Train Drivers Union said it warned the rail operator of severe wear and tear on the tracks. Spanish officials said that the rescue efforts are still ongoing.
President Trump is targeting states that use taxpayer money to cover health care for illegal immigrants. The administration says 7 states and D.C. owe nearly $1.4 billion in federal funds spent on non-emergency care. Officials say federal money is only meant for emergency care, not routine treatments like dental cleanings or elective surgeries. Illinois is third behind California and New York for the amount of money owed to the federal government over care for illegal immigrants. That's according to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
When you come for elective hernia operations or dental cleaning, that's not going to be paid for by the federal taxpayer. It's not right. You don't want folks in one state paying for people in another state without them knowing about it and voting for it.
Critics say cutting care is cruel, while supporters argue Americans shouldn't pay for health care for undocumented immigrants. Now switching gears, sad news in the designer world. Iconic fashion designer Valentino Garavani has died. His foundation posted the news yesterday saying he passed away at his home in Rome, surrounded by loved ones. Valentino founded his legendary namesake brand in 1960, and his client list quickly became iconic, helping style celebrities like Elizabeth Taylor, Audrey Hepburn, and Sophia Loren. Valentino retired in 2008, but his stamp on the fashion world was already sealed. Valentino was 93 years old.
Well, new research shows coffee can help slow the stream of sugar into our blood. That research shows promise in supporting new foods that may manage type 2 diabetes in the future. Scientists identified 3 previously unknown compounds in coffee beans, which block an enzyme that plays a key role in just how fast sugar enters the body. But they say that they will need to conduct further studies to test how effective the compounds are in living organisms.
Spending too many hours playing video games can apparently make you gain weight. Researchers found students who played video games a lot had significantly more body weight and worse dietary habits. That's compared with students who limit their screen time. Obesity prevalence was over 3 times higher in the high-frequency gaming group.
Well, developers want to bring a little bit of Las Vegas to the Washington, D.C. area. Maryland officials announced plans to build a venue just like the Las Vegas Sphere, but this one would be located at the National Harbor over the Potomac River. This new Sphere would be a smaller version with 6,000 seats compared to the 18,000 venue in Vegas. State lawmakers still need to sign off on this project, but it is expected to open in the year 2030.
Part of eastern Russia is in a state of emergency after a winter storm dumped more than 7 feet of snow, with some areas seeing 10 feet. This is Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula, where a powerful cyclone hit. Mike gave me the thumbs up on that pronouncer. Many ground-level apartments and businesses were also snowed in. Officials say this is their most intense snowfall in more than 30 years.
I guess we can look at our snow here and just a reminder, it could always be worse.
That's right. Exactly.
Oh, yeah. You look at the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and it's like a ton of snow too there.
Yes, yes. Yeah, the only reason why I know Kamchatka is because when I was younger, I was a big fan of the board game Risk, which is all about global warfare. And one of the places that it's imperative you must protect Kamchatka, defend that.
I remember my dad talking about that same game.
Your dad, a smart man, Gabriella. That's fantastic. All right, we don't have Kamchatka level snow on the way, but we are going to have some pretty darn cold and snowy weather to deal with over the next several days. Let's talk snow first. Winter weather advisory, Lake, McHenry, and points west, and it also includes all of southern Wisconsin. We also have, got to mention, Berrien County. It's a winter weather advisory for you, and then just north of there, winter storm warning due to lake effect. This is going to be from a system coming in tonight, and that will produce maybe a 3-4 inch snowfall in the northern tier of counties. And then there's some additional snow coming in tomorrow evening as well. Here's the deal. Today, a lot of sunshine. Deceptive, because it's just not going to get that warm. You're going to see all that sun out there and think, oh, I probably don't need a heavy coat. Wrong, you do. Here comes the snow tonight with that clipper system. It's a fast mover, as clippers are, and it's out of here by daybreak tomorrow. You go and do your snow removal. There's going to be more north, less south. And then this, snow showers with a trough of low pressure, which is actually a push of another gush of cold air coming in here. That will arrive tomorrow evening. Not quite the broad area of snow that we'll get overnight tonight into tomorrow morning, but there could be some punches of pretty heavy snow for 30 minutes or so, enough to recoat the driveway that you cleared off in the morning. Then it's all about the cold settling in here, and the worst of the cold is coming in here Friday and Friday night. Today, cold enough, 22 degrees. We'll have southwest winds 8 to 18 miles an hour, a lot of sunshine. Tonight, clouding over, snow arriving, somewhere between about 8 and 10. Later in northwest Indiana, sooner if you're in McHenry County. Temperatures will actually rise. I expect a lot of 2s and 3s across the area with some 4+ possible in Lake and McHenry County. If you're south of I-80, you may not even get an inch. 28 tomorrow, and then we get those snow showers tomorrow night, and then here comes the cold stuff. After 22 on Thursday, 0 for the high on Friday, with wind chills likely to be 20 below 0 or worse into Saturday morning, climbing barely out of the deep freeze on Monday with a high temperature of only 20 degrees. It's going to be cold for a while. Yesterday morning, we started sharing some of these pictures of the beautiful 22-degree solar halo, those features that look like little rainbows off to the side of the sun. They're called parhelia. The less fancy name is sundogs. And Josh Wotkowicz from Round Lake Beach gave us that beautiful picture there. I love Old Glory in the foreground. And this was Jim Thanopoulos' view over Prospect High School. Looks like the parking lot there empty because the classes were off. And in addition to the sundogs there and the 22-degree halo, that little band of light that you see to the side of the sundogs is part of what's called the parhelic circle. All of this, by the way, created by ice crystals in very frigid air. Then, last night, the Northern Lights came out. Now, granted, not everybody got to see them. This is from Bob Schultz. He is in St. Germain, Wisconsin. This was kind of his early view that he sent in. And then later at night, he sent me this one. And that is just a gorgeous shot, different coloration there, but not that far away. This is in northern Wisconsin. I saw barely with the camera a little bit of Northern Lights action around 6:30, but it didn't really show up that well in the Chicago area. Thank you for those pics, Bob. And we have 5:57 on the clock, and we're going to be back with more of Good Day after this.
Hey, you wanted me to look at your furnace.